So, as I said earlier, this isn't going to take an hour because there are not that many updates for September. I guess the Googlers were all coming back off their summer holidays, or who knows. But anyway, we'll get started. So the technical updates for September 2024. The first one is if you've got something like a sustainability officer or something like that, you've now got the ability within the Google Admin Console to actually see their emissions. So by user, how many, what emissions, and of course this is something we should all be concerned with, but you can actually see, obviously Google is an ecosystem that's been carbon neutral since, when is it, Paul?
2007.
2007, they've been carbon neutral. So even though they're running these massive data centers all over the world, they are carbon neutral. So the way that you can see this is within your admin console. If you go to reporting, and then there's now a new tab on there called carbon footprint. So you can actually see what your users are actually using and what they're using it in. So are they using it in Meets? Are they using it in Gmail, Docs, Gemini, whatever they might be? And you've also got the ability, now that you've got that visibility of a carbon footprint for your domain, you can now create a custom admin role so that you can give a sustainability officer or whoever it is within your establishment that has to look at this sort of stuff, give them an admin role that just looks at that reporting functionality. Sorry, was that a question?
No, it was just Jamie saying good new functionality. I agree, absolutely.
Excellent functionality. And it just gives you an overall view of which users are using the most data. So unfortunately, unlike data storage where you can put a cap on users' data, there isn't currently a functionality to say you've used too much electricity this month, so you can't do anything else. But at least it gives you an oversight so that you can report that back to your board or whatever and say, we're using the most sustainable, platform out there, more sustainable than any other cloud platform. And here's the proof. This next one, if you've got Gemini licenses, it's very useful. This is, again, another reporting tool. If you're paying for Gemini licenses and you want to see who in your organization is actually using it and specifically what they're using it for. So are they using Gemini just chatting to Gemini and asking it to do things, or are they using it to help with docs, sheets, slides, drive, or even email? Because as we know, Gemini is very, very clever at being able to deliver very quickly, unless you get an hallucination. It can very quickly give you what you're asking for. And it's all down to the prompts, isn't it, Paul?
Absolutely, yeah. It might be worth saying, I don't know whether it's been updated in the admin panel or not, but Gemini is now available in forms as well.
Yeah.
And so it might be that there's a column for forms in there as well. It'll be very low at the minute because this literally, I think the paint's still wet on it. It's that new.
Yeah,
I
haven't looked at it, to be honest with you, but I'm sure it probably is. Now that it's available, they'll just need to add it in.
Yeah.
This next one is if you're a developer and you're developing your own apps and things like that, it allows you within Google Meet. You have to use the software development kit, but it allows you, if you've got an app that you specifically want to go into a Google Meet, you can, as an admin, you can control the availability of those add-ins, install them, and basically control them whilst you're in a Meet as well. And you can do that multiple ways. You can just sort of like add it from the sidebar, as you can see on the screen here. I don't know about anyone else, but I find Google Meet perfect as it is. I don't know why you would add another app into it. because for what it's designed for, it does the job. And I had a meet yesterday where the meet was set up by the client, and it was in Zoom, I believe. And I just couldn't get on with Zoom. Just couldn't. It did not have the, what you see is what you get sort of functionality that you get in Meet.
It's certainly true. Google have done a great deal of work on their user interface, haven't they?
Well,
Interface and lots of other.
They always have.
Options.
They always have, and they always will. I mean, for the last sort of like 12 years, I can remember, even from the old Google apps, the reason that a lot of people adopted it was because of the ease of use and the ease of interface. And they just make it user friendly, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this next bit is, I don't know if anyone here is sort of like developing apps and things like that for the workspace marketplace. But now if you are developing apps, APIs and things like that within the admin console, you can now submit those apps or those APIs into the admin console, review them. So you can basically say, save this, I'll come back to it tomorrow, tweak it a bit more, but then you can ask for a review. So you can submit a review, and then Google will look at it and kind of like go, that's not going to work, or that is going to work. Come back to you before you actually publish it. This next one doesn't have the graphic for some reason, Paul.
Sorry, I didn't check that.
Yeah, that's Paul's fault, not mine.
Because I make these slide decks.
Yeah. Notebook LM now available as an additional service. Notebook LM is a fantastic thing. Paul covered this yesterday, and it is, again, an additional service, and it allows you to pull in documents into Notebook LM. I think it's up to the limit's 20 different documents, and then it allows you to use Gemini, to use AI, to interrogate those documents. So, for example, you could have 3 documents, a policy document, minutes of a meeting, and something else. Pull them all into Notebook LM and ask it to identify gaps within those docs, and it will. It's a fantastic service.
It's worth saying that the result you get is a summary of where the gaps are, and they'll get lots of footnotes in it. If you click the footnote, it'll take you directly to the document it's referencing in the task that you've asked it to do, which is really useful. I don't know if people have been waiting for Illuminate. Illuminate was an AI podcasting tool that Google had developed. It looks like they've built that into Notebook LM now. So if you ask it to do a task, you can actually ask it to convert things like the documents you've uploaded into a podcast. And it's not a transcript of what's in the document. It turns it into a podcast as if it was a proper podcast from a radio station or whatever. It's really, really good. And brilliant way to get through some documents if you need to get through them quickly.
And the other thing, having, being an ex-governor of a school, I could see this being extremely useful if there's new sort of like government guidance that comes out from the DFE, and you as governors have got a policy in place, you can have it interrogate the government documentation and cross-reference it with your current policy, so that governors don't have to sit and read through the whole policy again and cross-reference it. It'll do it for you.
It's worth saying that because it's now additional service, if the people have got early access, they'll still have early access. If they didn't have early access before, you need to go on and turn it. You just go in and turn it on.
You need to turn it on in the additional services. Yep. The other thing about additional services, anyone has logged it, and there isn't a slide for this, I just noticed this yesterday, is that now I think you've got till the 25th of March next year that you have to go in and prove to Google that for additional Google apps, additional Google services, there'll be a banner at the top of your admin console that will tell you that you need to have parental consent for any Google additional app that you have turned on for any OU which is marked as under 18. because if you've turned on the app for an OU that's under 18, and additional Google services can be things like YouTube. If you've turned that on for an OU that's marked as under 18, and you haven't by March next year filled in the consent review form from Google, Google will switch that service off. So that's just a bear it in mind. Next time you log into your admin console, you'll see it at the top of the page. Okay, this next one is to do with Apple iOS. So this is giving you more when it comes to sort of mobile device management. It's giving you more sort of like granular level control as to whether someone who's on an iOS device using one of your education accounts can or cannot share work data from their personal device outside of that domain. So it's just again locking down the data and making you as an admin prevent the sharing of data from a personal device. This next one's a happy one. Now in Google Calendar, you can create birthday notifications. So you can actually add someone's name in, add their date of birth, and you will every year you will get a notification saying it's Paul's 65th birthday, so that you can send them a happy birthday. That's a nice thing, I suppose.
Don't be too enthusiastic, will you?
Did I say 65? I meant 75. Anyway, we'll move along. So again, this is to do with chat APIs. I don't know if anyone's using chat APIs, but there's new admin features for managing your spaces within chat. They keep on adding to this. They keep on adding to the sort of like chat management. And I think it's probably because normally when Google keep adding to something, it's because more and more people have requested the feature. So again, it's generally available. It's only within the API, but it allows you to do all those things. So find and delete an inactive space if you've got umpteen spaces sitting on your domain that you don't need. If they've been inactive for a certain amount of time, you can delete them. You can audit if there's anyone been added into a space who isn't part of the domain, that sort of stuff. So very useful. Right, this next one is to do with BIMI, which is the brand. BIMI stands for Brand Indicator for Message Identification. So you, as an organization or as a school or college, you will have your brand icon, so to speak, your school icon. That's known as a BIMI. But now Google supports CMCs. CMCs are a new thing called the Common Mark Certificate. So with Common Mark certificates, you need to, I have to point out, you need to, in order to use these to enhance your email security and your, the trust of people receiving emails from your domain, you would need to have DMARC configured on your domain first in order to actually use this. And then what you would need to do, once you've got DMARC configured, you would need to take your logo, your college logo, your university logo, your school logo, and you would need to verify that through a certificate authority in the UK, typically, but a UK certificate authority in order to get a verified mark certificate. And once you've got that, then you can apply that into your DMARC. And then, as you can see on the image there, it will say, if someone's sending an email on a device, it'll say the sender of this email has been verified, that they own this domain, and the logo is their profile. So it just prevents phishing attacks and things like that. So it's just another level of email security over and above all the other email security measures that Google already have in the admin console. And that's it. I told you it wouldn't take very long. Next updates just after Guy Fawkes Day, Thursday the 7th of November, and I hope to see you there.
in case people missed it, Dave very kindly put a link to how you might get your DMARC, your DKIM, and your SPF. And I say it with such confidence as if I actually know what those things mean. And other mail security features sorted. There's a NCSC website where you can go and get some more information about that.
And you need to configure your DKIM and your SPF before you configure your DMARC. So thanks, Dave, for putting that link in.
But are these things that people, all the admin people on board, you're confident you've got all these things in place?
I know it's something that I've been reviewing for all our various schools recently, and it's interesting that things move on. So even though I thought I'd set it up years ago, things have moved on, and there are best practices to follow now. And I think that the My NCSC site gives you both a kind of a dashboard overview as to where you are, and really good advice as to how to move things forward if you need it. So that's why I'd recommend that particularly.
Yeah, things do move on, Dave. And I was dealing with a school yesterday who had set up their mobile device management, I think he said in 2008, and he just wanted to review it. And of course, since 2008, as you're well aware, particularly with enterprise editions, you know, your advanced mobile device management is now available, is miles ahead of where it used to be.
There's that thing, if you're not, I don't know which option you choose. There's an option if you get an email. I did it the other day. Someone sent an email and it ended up in spam. It's because they'd got, I can't remember. You choose an option in an email and it shows you the security settings that it's got. It lists whether it's got SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, isn't it? I forgot what the thing is you choose in an email. And it only had one of them. I presume it was SPF, I think. And for that reason, it wasn't secure enough, so it went to my spam. So it's a handy little thing. Anyone remember what it's called? Or do I need to look it up?
Do you mean in the header of the email? Is that what you?
Yeah, in an email. It's just in your standard inbox. If you go,
if you click on view headers, then you get all the information around the transport and everything.
Yeah.
But the other thing that that I picked up on, which to be honest, I was unaware of, that we hadn't got this set up until I started looking at it through the My NCSC dashboard. We have emails go out through our MIS, and because we hadn't approved that and linked that to our DMARC record, we were seeing a reduction in our reputational score and also a number of failed deliveries, because it's not just about what you receive, it's about what you send as well, and you kind of build up a reputational score by having greater mail security in place, and therefore the better you've got that, the more likely your mails are going to be delivered. And I found that there have been a number of emails that have gone out from our MIS historically that hadn't been delivered because the recipient organisations have got their security bar set quite high, and ours hadn't quite matched it. But now I've approved those, it will raise that threshold to make sure that everything's being delivered. So well worth looking into, or well worth, if you're not the person with responsibility for that, just check in to make sure that that's been set up for your organisation.
But I'll just add to that, Dave, speaking about emails from MIS, that is a bugbear of mine. You know, having two boys in high school, I just talk about getting spammed from the MIS system. It's just, you know, if they haven't got it set up properly, I could literally get 10, 15 emails a day from Bromcom. And just think, why do I need to know about a sixth form art event when my son's in year 9?
We've moved over to School Post, who annoyingly were bought by Firefly a couple of years ago, having at that point just departed from Firefly. But we're finding that working really well, because you can get staff to kind of send in emails to it, and then it will just do a digest based on who it's for. So if you've got a kid in year 9, you'll just get the staff emails that have been sent to parents of year 9, but it all goes in one email. So everyone gets a different email based on what content that's relevant to them, but it's just one. And we just send it out twice a week. And that's made a huge difference. Like, parents are saying, this is great because I only get 2 emails a week and it's got everything I need in it. I mean, I'd imagine there's loads of other systems to do the same thing, but you know, back when we used to just use Sims to send it out, yeah, they'd be getting spammed all the time. Although the positive thing with Sims is it doesn't, and it won't, I don't think, send from your domain. So DMARC doesn't really come into it, I guess.
Yeah, sorry, that was my moan for this afternoon. But I think
it's a crucial.
They haven't got the system set up properly.
No.
Well, they may have. It may just be a training issue for the teachers if they're sending it to all parents rather than parents of people who are relevant.
Yeah, possibly.
It's not always a systems issue. It's often a people issue. Although if Broncom are involved, it's potentially a systems issue.
Yeah. But email is such a crucial thing now, isn't it? It's kind of embedded into everything that everyone does, more or less. You know, there are very few people that escape having to use email. So getting it right is really important, isn't it? And just go back, it's show original. If you open an email and you know you've got the 3 dots, you've got 2 sets of 3 dots on a show original, one across the top and one that's inside the actual email itself, in line with the person sending it. In these 3 dots, you go show original, it gives you a pass mark for SPF, DKIM and DMARC. So you can, if you're not sure if you've done it and you can't be bothered to look, you can just go and quickly look at an email and find out if you've got all 3 in place for your own domain. So
there's been many a day when it comes to sort of like MIS emails that I've wanted to hit the unsubscribe button, but then I thought I can't really do that because I might get notifications from my sons that I actually need to know about. So I just have to grin and bear it.
stick them in a folder.
Yeah.
Deal with on the list so they don't look like they're in a label.
Can I ask a question for Heather, who's just left us there, Paul?
Yeah.
I know she's copied one in regarding some meat issues, which I think we're kind of looking into, but she's also asked another question around Classroom, where one of her tutors has deleted a Google Classroom, and she's just asking if she can recover that at all. Does that sit anywhere in trash or something for 30 days, or is it once it's deleted, it's deleted?
There's 2 questions then. Has she checked her archive? There's an archive classes. If they're not the original teacher, they can appear to delete it. It disappears off the active classes and goes into archive. But if they're not the primary teacher, they can't do that final step of deleting it. If they are the primary teacher, then I need to hand over to an admin person to know if they're still recoverable after that.
Okay.
If you can get the ID of the classroom, then you may be able to use GAM to change the status from deleted to, I think it's active, if I recall correctly. GAM is often the solution to this. It looks like Nick might have some experience of that as well.
My experience, I use GAM a lot. My experiences a couple of years ago, I thought, goodness me, we've got a lot of old archive classrooms. I'll just mass delete the whole lot, and I got in a lot of trouble for that. And at that point, you couldn't recover it. You know, if you can now, great, but yeah, I couldn't at the time. I couldn't work out any way of doing it. Obviously, GAM has moved, or GAM Advanced has moved on in that time, but I'm not aware of a way of doing it. I would imagine it must go into a bin somewhere though, and sit there for 30 days because Google loves the number 30, so it must be somewhere.
Okay.
I think it depends on what they mean by deleted as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's just I was hoping that Heather was going to stay on, and I was going to ask the question while she was here, but she just kind of went, I've got to go. So obviously got something else to deal with, but I'll try and get a little bit more information for our internal team and see what we can get.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So only the person who actually made the classroom can do that final delete step.
Yeah.
It's kind of the only difference between a teacher and the teacher that made the document, that made the classroom. The teacher can do absolutely everything except that final delete. So it might be, if they're lucky, it wasn't the actual owner of the class and it's in the archive.
Okay.
But if not, then give Dave a ring.
Slightly more technical.
Dave he's been recorded, Dave, and I'll edit it to make it sound like he said, I'm a GAM expert, ask me anything.
That's definitely not the case. I know that you can use it
because
for
of the joke
that
about the 75th birthday.
It was 65th when I put that was
yeah, but then
year.
he said 75th before you'd written that hurtful.
No. I mean, you only look 55 if you ask me.
Yeah, I think you need someone. You need these.
No, it's one of those things. I think GAM is extremely powerful, but it's also extremely dangerous. If you're not comfortable in what you're doing with it, then be careful. And I very much wouldn't class myself as an expert user of it. I'm aware of its capabilities, but I would always hand it off to somebody who's more capable with scripting than I am.
Yeah.
I've said before, I
Someone,
ain't no coder.
someone else that you can blame, Dave. That's what you mean.
If,
You
if
may
it
say
is
that, I
about,
can't possibly comment.
thinking specifically about Heather's challenge, if it is about, if it's possible, if you've got the ID of the classroom, if it has been deleted, how do they find the ID of the classroom?
If it's been deleted, that's difficult, isn't it? If it's been, I guess you can, I think with Ingam, you can get it to list all your classrooms, and you can, I'm trying to think back to when I last did this, which is months ago. I think you can get it to list all active classrooms, all archived classrooms, and that would give you both the ID and the title of the classroom. So you could export that to a file and then do a search for the name of the classroom, and that would potentially retrospectively give you the ID of it. So if it has been archived, you can unarchive it. I'm not sure that there's an undelete option. I think it's only changing archived to be active rather than deleted to active, which probably ties in with Nick's experience.
Yeah, I'm just I have to do this all the time because we auto generate thousands of classrooms every year. So yeah, when you're just running the kind of just the print courses to Drive and you just get the spreadsheet of everything, I'm yet to see a deleted status on there. It's only ever active or archived. I'm just not aware that you can retrieve the ID after it's gone. There might be some special command somewhere, and it might be that this is something that if you wrote something with an API or something to connect into the API, you could do, because there's a bunch of things that GAM doesn't do, but I'm aware that you can if you know how to interact with the API. That's far beyond me. But yeah, I'm afraid to say I suspect if it's deleted, you might struggle to get the ID back now.
Yeah, but what it won't do if a class is deleted, it won't delete any documents that were associated with that class, because they'll all still be in Drive.
Right.
Yeah. This is your classroom's got its own classroom email, hasn't it? There's not any hints about the ID of the classroom in the email.
No, again, I think when the classroom's deleted, that would go as well, wouldn't it? Unless it depends how you've set it up.
I'm just thinking that the email might sit in it. If it has got some way of indicating what the ID of it is, it might just be sat in someone's inbox. So that if a classroom email, because it's a strange thing, because it's not like a name. It's got odd characters.
It's just a string, yeah. It's just a string like you get with a file ID. It's the same sort of thing, isn't it?
I think it's just an arbitrary set of numbers, isn't it? I'm afraid. I don't think it's. I
okay.
mean, and I don't even think, and I'm guessing here, I don't even think if you got the ID for the email address, I don't think there's going to be any relation between the two. I think it's purely just a nominal code that's been injected at the point of creation. Sorry, all I keep saying is no, you can't do it. There may well be a way of doing it, but I've no experience of being able to do it.
I think in summary, we think that it's not great news, but you might get lucky if it's been archived rather than deleted.
Yeah, I guess it's just the pain of having to rebuild it with the resources you've got, but you've not actually lost those resources, which is not as bad, is it, I suppose?
Well, you don't lose the documents, but you might lose the grade sheets and the mark sheets and any comments and things in the stream that may have been important as well.
You would think, wouldn't you, with the kind of the importance of that it would sit somewhere for 30 days, you know, just in a deleted file or something, or a deleted folder or something, or whatever, you know. But okay.
Can I ask another question? A customer this morning is using Applied Digital Skills. So is it applieddigitalskills.withgoogle.com, that website, some of the resources out of that. He tells me that the admin person's whitelisted the domain name, but when the students go to click on the links to the resources, they can't get hold of the resources. Is that because of the way they've set up sharing? They won't allow sharing externally into the domain for students. Is that why that happens, or might there be other reasons?
It may be that there are other domains involved in hosting those resources that haven't been whitelisted. My approach to that would be to get the IT team to have a look at the firewall logs while somebody's actually doing this, so the firewall or the filter logs, get a known user and kind of filter by that user so you can see exactly what's happening, what traffic is going where. So for example, I'd say to you, Paul, right, can I'd filter down on the filter or the firewall to only be reporting on you and ask you to do it live, and it should come up saying, yeah, this has passed, this has passed, this has failed. and that will give you an indication as to if something's being blocked or not. It could be related to sharing within domains, but I think it's more likely to be a filter and firewall issue than anything else. So it might also be worth just looking up on Applied Digital Skills to see whether they have a list of ports to open up in the firewall or addresses to allow through the filter, rather than just the top level domain.
Okay,
Right, okay.
it could be subdomains as well within that.
Often though, if you set the top level domain, it will allow subdomains. It depends how you've got your filter set up, but yeah, like I say, investigating and interrogating filter logs should help you with that.